As I've said, survival due to a backcountry emergency isn't about a single situational event. Life and death is usually decided in the first hour, and it's based on your compounding decisions. If the first 3 minutes are about control and the first 10 are about judgment, then the first 60 minutes are about systems. Because by minute 10, you've either stabilized or you haven't. But now the clock expands, and everything, including your decisions, start interacting. Some of these things bear repeating, but I'll explain as we go along. Even though getting through minute 10 is very crucial, the reality is adrenaline is still fading. Pain is still increasing, and the injured person either improves or starts declining, because this is where denial shows up. We ask again, can they move? They say, I can get up and walk. They think they can walk further than they actually can. They say, we're not that far. It's not that bad. And one of the reasons we teach that trauma injuries should be checked every 5 minutes is because hidden injuries start surfacing. Head injury symptoms start worsening. Internal bleeding causes fatigue and confusion. It also lets you see the color changing in their skin. And if it hasn't already, shock gets worse. Temperature regulation fails and dehydration really starts to matter. This is the opportunity to get a real assessment in. Although you checked hopefully every 5 minutes, that pattern or trend that happens over a period of time is where you start getting the most valuable information. Has their level of consciousness improved or decreased, or maintained the same? What about their breathing rate or signs of the skin? Has it gotten pinker, warmer, colder, paler? Is bleeding control still holding? Or do you need to readjust, reapply? Because a trickle can happen very quietly. The person can start bleeding out and you never know. We're looking at pain progression now. Has it eased off or has it gotten worse? Are they noticing uncomfortable swelling? Or does the swelling start making where their clothing is cutting off circulation? Let's talk about environmental exposure. We talked about getting them off the ground. We see how weather has been changing. What are we doing to control that? To control the hypothermia that's happening? Not just with them, not just the patient, but with everybody in the team. Or if it's just you and somebody else, what about you? Have you taken a drink of water lately? Or have you given it all away? If you don't reassess now, then you're working on outdated information. And outdated information causes bad decisions. So in reality, you're just putting a Band-Aid on a problem that's actually really worse. Between minutes 20 and 30, you must make a commitment. You must make the decisions to commit to different things. Whether you stay and shelter in place, whether you evacuate, whether you activate a beacon, whether you get help. This is where those decisions may make you feel like a failure. But in reality, these are decisions that have to be made. They are critical at this time. You may be wavering on the decision to call for help now, or let's see what happens in the next 15 minutes. The problem is, Mother Nature's not playing with you. She's really out for everything she can get. And if you fight against her, you're going to lose. Between minutes 30 and 45 is when the energy drain starts to happen. This is when the environment starts winning. Everybody's colder than they actually thought they were and more tired than they want to admit. Emotions fluctuate, voices change tone, small disagreements start to surface and some behind your back. And this is where leadership either makes it or doesn't. It starts to crack very quietly. You still have to worry about the group splitting up when it's not time, but you have to make the decision as a leader to determine whether that's going to happen or whether it's not. Sometimes the decision is as easy as looking at your patient and going, you know what? If it were me there, this is what I would want to happen. But also in reality, not always is that the answer. Things based off of what they're not seeing may cause you to change to a different opinion. And if nobody manages hydration or insulation, the problem that originally happened is secondary. So now you're managing a system under very much stress. You're now managing temperatures, weather temperature, people temperature. You're managing emotions. You're managing communication clarity. You're managing morale. And if one of those areas start breaking, the whole thing crumbles. These are things I've seen in the field, whether in the wilderness or street side. I've seen things like this happen in a hospital because now you have trending information. Minutes 45 through 60 really help with your trajectory. You can see what's going on. You can tell whether the patient is stabilizing, decompensating, declining. So you're looking at the fact of whether this is an escalation moment or a containment moment. What decisions have you already made or put into place? Whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, sometimes it's only time that tells. It may not have been the wisest decision, but a decision was made. Is the patient becoming lethargic or more confused? I know the team is, and if not already, shock becomes more visible. Hypothermia becomes measurable. You get more or uncontrollable shivering, and mental clarity changes. I've said it before, and again, it bears repeating. Wilderness emergencies don't become rescues because of trauma or injury severity. They typically become rescues because the first hour lacked structure. It's not about the reassessing, because you've done that. It's not about the committing early to get rescued, because you've done that. It's not about managing the environment, because hopefully you've done that. And it's not about energy conservation, because hopefully you're doing that. The first hour is about leadership. Not loud leadership, like I'm in charge, but system leadership. Small, tiny, systematic decisions with clear roles, clear communication, and clear priorities. So what exactly is the pattern we've seen across 60 minutes? Minutes 0 through 3 controls the chaos. Minutes 3 through 10 prevent the escalation of an event. Minutes 10 through 30 are making irreversible decisions carefully. And minutes 30 through 60 is managing the system that's under stress. If you do this well, you reduce hypothermia risk, you reduce shock risk, you reduce group fracture, and you reduce rescue probability. Because sometimes it isn't about getting rescued. Sometimes it's about controlling everything so that you can get out safely without having to require that call being made. But if you don't, compounding errors take over, and they take over quietly. They don't look dramatic. They look like optimism and hope. They look like delay. Let's wait a little bit longer. They look like, hey, we're fine. It's all good. Just a little dirt. It looks like, hey, they're all adults, so they'll let me know if something's wrong. While some of this sounds very familiar, it does bear repeating. This does not test your gear. It does not test your certificates, and it also doesn't test your toughness, but it does test your discipline to reassess and reassess often. It tests your willingness to commit early, and it tests your emotional tone. It also tests your understanding that the environment is a factor and is usually in control. In the backcountry, the first hour doesn't reward speed. It rewards structure, because survival isn't a single moment. That may be the cause, but over time, it's a managed process. If you control the first hour, you control the trajectory of everything that's going to happen after that. And if you lose structure in that first hour, the wilderness is going to take over. And the wilderness is patient. It doesn't need drama. It just needs time.